reflect those of the Evening Rush Network. Viewers' discretion is advised.
So, yes, sir. We are here plugged with Mahli and Joe. You are now tuned in, plugged in with us, the Mental Warriors. You have words by Joe. You have Zakaria Yisrael up there. Man, listen. I like to see what it is. I'm used to the tracks and whatnot. So we don't have my brother Sean Dawn. Shout out to Sean Dawn. Whatever he's dealing with. But shout out to him. Hope everything is fine. Maybe we see him pop in later on. But shout out to the Evening Rush Network as well for having us on. All right. So basically, you know how we do this, right? Okay, what's coming on tonight's show? Topic of the day: New York Undercover. Black history in the Big Apple. All right. These are spots, these are places, this is history, Black history that's happened right here in New York City. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to pay homage, of course, because we always try to begin our show with any topic or any current events or what have you, with paying homage to the ancestors that paved the way for us to be here today. We would not be here today without the list of all of the people that we already paid homage to for how many shows. I don't even know how many shows there is right now. All right. And then, of course, current events. We're going to dig into current events today. It's so much happened in the past week that we have to dig into current events today. So without further ado, I want to get you some words by Joe real quick. Joe?
What's good, brother?
I don't hear you, Joe. I don't hear you. Zakaria, what you got to say?
What's good, people? We here. Joe, turn your mic up.
You hear me? I'm here. Y'all don't hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
All right. I was here. I was speaking, but
your volume low this week.
You're still low.
See, Zakaria, remember we was talking about this. That's that new condo living, right?
He got that big old crib now, so the sound got a long way to travel before it bounces off the wall.
You know, people done moved on up and things done changed. We lose sound quality.
That's what it is. It's reverberating off the walls. So I have to be a little more louder in my voice, but I can do that. It's okay.
All right. See if you can get a little closer though. In the meantime, all right. Zakaria, what's going on with you, man? You good today?
Yeah, man. Always, man. Like I always say, better than yesterday, worse than tomorrow.
All righty. That's kind of morbid. You know that, right?
No, man. Better than yesterday, worse than tomorrow, because every day gets better.
Okay, it sounded morbid for a second there.
No. It's in congruency with my positive frame of mind.
All right,
I'm a happy kind of guy, man.
Copy that. But you know what we have to do right now? We have to let everybody know the platforms we're on. As plugged with Mahli and Joe, the Warriors. What's going on here?
Feedback.
We have a lot of feedback. What's going on? All righty, we got that fixed. All right. So remember, once again, the platforms we're on, we have to let you guys know we're on there as Plug with Mahli and Joe, the Mental Warriors, and we're also on there with the Evening Rush Network and their platform and their lineup of shows. All right, you can check those out as well. We're on Amazon Music, Pandora, Stitcher, Podchaser, TuneIn, Reasons Podcast, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Anchor.fm. What's that? Spotify? Is that Spotify? Hold on. Is that Spotify? I'm having technical difficulties myself. Oh, yep, that's Spotify. iHeartRadio, Mixcloud, iTunes Podcast, the Evening Rush Network, of course, .com. And you can download the Evening Rush Network app, available on both iOS and Android. All righty. So we got that out the way, right? We got that out the way. How was your week, guys? Everybody's week was good?
Yep.
Yes. Yes. My week was amazing.
Okay.
Like y'all done put me on the spot. I done moved on up like the Jeffersons, you know.
Yeah, buddy. Gated community.
What kind of pie is it, brother? What kind of pie? Since you finally got a slice, what kind of pie is it?
Well, I'm a big fan of cherry pie, so cherry pie works.
You would be. You would be. You would be. I swear. Yeah, I don't know why I thought of anything different, man. I swear. But you know what time it is. Listen, I had a wonderful week, of course. You know, my mind is always racing. You guys, you know that. And things is happening in my world of community activism. I'm an activist, man. You know, I'm gonna call it what it is. You know, I'm out here. I'm out here doing what I need to do and you know, shaking hands with the right people. And, you know, thank God, you know, that myself and Jada and a lot of other people, we're really seeing the fruits of our labor in the sense of the help we need to help our community. So, man, listen, I'm blessed, man. Listen, I have not much to say most weeks because I'm just stay moving and start and trying to and striving, you know. So that's my week, you know. But what we're going to do right now is what we do every week. We're going to pay homage. We're going to pay homage this week. Who we paying homage to for you, Joe, this week?
Oh, man. This gentleman came out of, I guess you could say, you know, I'm doing a lot with the kids this week with Black History Month. So, you know, a lot of them are big STEM people. So Granville Taylor Woods. He was an inventor. Granville Taylor Woods. He was
somebody back.
That's right. He held more than 50 patents in the United States. He was the first African-American mechanical and electrical engineer after the Civil War. He was self-taught, and he concentrated most of his work on trains and streetcars. One of his most notable inventions was a device called the synchronous multiplex railway telegraph. It was a variation or introduction of the telegraph, which relied on static electricity from existing telegraph lines to send messages between train stations and moving trains. So he pretty much created a communication device that could communicate between conductors and locomotives, or trains trains and like their dispatcher, if you will. So, you know, a lot of people don't understand that Granville Woods is responsible for pretty much the development of the trains and how they communicated with each other.
Yeah, we got something amazing, and that's why it's important for us to start recognizing that and start having a little more of a patriotic sense to our contribution to this country called America. You understand?
I've been saying that.
Yo, man, listen. And Zachariah and Zachariah. The funny part is that, and that's why I hear you, bro, because you look at it from a different lens. You understand what I'm saying? And you're looking at it from a lens where it's like, yo, y'all need to be championed. Y'all need to understand.
No, I'm gonna correct you right there, brother.
I feel where you're going.
I'm looking at it as a lens that we need to be championed, because for the longest, the more educated you get, you start to understand that this is a we thing. There's one race of people in the world. It's called the human race. They choose to keep us divided with colorism. It's not racism. They calling it that because they want us to believe that. They want us to think that we're so different. And now I'm not talking about the ones that are out there racist, the quote unquote racist. I'm talking about the people that have understanding that it's all about unity and love. So what my stance is that all black people are not African Americans, because the whole world was full of black people at one time in the ancient map. You know what I mean? So we have to really consider that the further we go back in history, we are all one people. Now, my mind is there today. So when I see you, it's easy to embrace you as my brother. I can't embrace somebody that doesn't have that mindset. I don't care what color you are.
It doesn't matter, right? It's the mindset. A copy. Mental warriors. Salute. Zachariah, listen. Lead into who you paying homage to this week.
Well, I just want to say that me and Joe discussed this, prior, and it's like he segued right into who I'm bringing, because another black inventor, Lewis Howard Latimer, born in Chelsea, Massachusetts, September.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Born in 1848, and as we have to put September 4th, 1848, because we know that a lot of the history of the slaves and post, abolition, if that's what you want to call it, is sort of clouded. So we have to speak clearly according to their contributions. We may not have dates and everything accurate. But having said that, he was an inventor and draftsman, best known for his contributions the patenting of the light bulb and telephone. So he was a very instrumental part in helping Thomas Edison patent and perfect and improve his early renditions of the light bulb, and also Alexander Graham Bell in what the first telephone looked like and how it functioned, because he drafted the first drawings of those and the mechanics behind it. So he was born to parents who fled slavery. As we read about most of these early inventors that contributed so much to American history and the Industrial Revolution and pre-Industrial Revolution, just the inventions that change our lives today. So just to highlight a few things, his father actually escaped slavery and was defended on trial by Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison. He was able to eventually purchase his freedom with the help of a local minister. He wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for that. It was 6 years later that he was born, and his father disappeared, and he took over for the family to support the family at 16 years old, at which time he joined the U.S. Navy and fought in the Civil War. So when you talk about patriotism, this guy was actual, he fought in the Civil War, and not only is he known for those inventions, but a lot of his own inventions. So I'm just going to go through quickly. In 1874, he co-patented an improved toilet system for railroad cars, which is called the water closet. In 1876, he joined Alexander Graham Bell and drafted his patent to the necessary drawings required to receive the patent for the telephone. In 1879, he was hired as assistant manager draftsman at Electric Lighting Company and owned by Hiram Maxim, and who was a rival of Thomas Edison. Later on, his works were so known that Thomas Edison ended up hiring him and paying him more money. He was responsible for getting the light bulb made because he taught them how to blow glass. He received a patent in 1881 for the electric lamp and improved the design in 1882 for the process of manufacturing carbons, and helped with the development of the filament. So when we talk about guys like Thomas Edison, you cannot leave out Lewis Howard Latimer, but we do when we learn about him in school. You know what I mean? Telephone, same thing. And the last thing,
hold on, give me 1 second. That's definitely understood, right? And we have to, because time constraints and whatnot, because remember the video we have a video we have to shoot as well. Yeah, we have to show the video, okay? And I want to give a shout out to Lewis Howard Latimer, because that's a lot of information.
What we want to do is share this with the public, so we're going to eventually have that added to our
right. So what I want you to do is the research that you've done or what have you, and then we have a written form where people can go and then and ingest all of this information, because I don't think that we actually do any of them any good when we don't expound on all of their acknowledgments. You understand what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? Because it does seem rushed, and for it to seem rushed seems like as we're doing it a disservice at the same time. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do is, how we do, we think about it, we go back to the think, and we figure it out, right? So shout out to Lewis Howard Latimer. Mine's, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet because time constraint, and then like I said, we got a little time on it, but mine's is none other than the voice of the Harlem Renaissance, Langston Hughes. Poet, activist, whatever you want to call him. This man was the voice of the black people back in what he was born in 1902 and he died in 1967. The New York He's a New York poet and writer. He published the poem "The Negro Speaks of Rivers" when he was 19. Briefly attended Columbia University and worked on an Africa-bound freighter. His literary career was launched when Hughes, working as a busboy, presented his poems to Vachel Lindsay as he dined. Hughes' poetry collections include The Weary Blues in 1926 and Montage of a Dream Deferred in 1951. His later The Panther and the Lad, the 1967, reflects Black anger and militancy. Among his other works are short stories, including The Ways of White Folks in 1934. Autobiographies, many works for the stage, anthologies, and translations of poetry by Federico Garcia Lorca and Gabriela Mistral. His well-known comic character, Jesse B. Simple, called Simple, appeared in his newspaper columns. One of the greats, and that is just some of the stuff that he's done. And, I just want to say one of his poems real quick, Mother to Son. And it goes as such. Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. It says, well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't no crystal stair. It had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn your back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I's are still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. And that was Langston Hughes.
Wow.
Don't be out of here quitting. Don't be out here quitting, boys. Don't be out here quitting. So, without further ado, wipe the little tear out my eye real quick. We're gonna get into our next segment and topic of the day. Topic of the day. What topic of the day? Can we get New York Undercover, Black History in the Big Apple. And first and foremost, who's better to talk about the Big Apple than none other than the great Billy Mitchell, right? He is, to me, he is, Black history in the Big Apple personified, living legend, correct? So, Joe, give us a brief, couple of minutes of who Billy Mitchell is.
Well, Billy Mitchell, he's a mentor of mine. I've known Billy for a long time. Every time I see him and hear his stories, I just wish I had that type of lifestyle as a youngster and see what he did. Billy grew up in between Mount Vernon and Harlem. Been working for the Apollo Theater since the early 1960s, from like 13 years old. Held all types of positions there. Knew such famous people as Marvin Gaye, James Brown, and you name it. Anybody who's been at the Apollo, he's met in some capacity. And Billy will tell you his story. This was not meant for him, but it just came that he is the person to share that story. And I know Billy as an Afrocentric brother, so he recently went to Ghana and shared his story there to get his ancestry, and he continues the life of it. So Billy is just somebody you want to look at and say, hey, I've lived a life like that, and I know what my life means. So I'm going to take what I can from him and hopefully instill that within my own life. And I hope that you all can do the same thing. So
and at some point, we'll figure and say, "All right, yes, I finally realized what my position in life is." Right?
Right.
Yeah. Yo, listen. When I saw that interview, man, it was it was so inspiring. It made me understand that I was on my way when it comes down to what I want to be doing. Like you said, it seems like he has so much fun being who he is. You know what I'm saying? And understanding his responsibility in being who he is. So, without further ado, I want everybody to take a listen to Billy Mitchell. I think he was in one of the meetings, community board meetings. Listen, the man is requested everywhere. So, take a listen to Billy Mitchell real quick, man, and tell me what you guys think.
Share what I know about our history. I do not have a degree in Black history. I have no letters in front of my name, no DR periods and all that stuff. But I do try to learn about our history and try to share as much as I've learned with whoever I speak with. So again, happy Black History Month. Our history is a lot of times told by someone else, and it becomes his story of us. We have to learn to share our own history, do our own research. Unfortunately, a lot of our history that is given to us in this country is not really true, unfortunately. And that's been going on for 400 something years. We are told what we're supposed to feel about ourselves. We are told, and there's things written about our history, but a lot of times that is not totally true. And I'm not here to bash anything. I'm just telling you, how it is in this country. I'm sure I'm speaking to the choir. Everybody knows that a lot of our history is not taught in the schools. That's why there's this big effort to not teach our history in certain schools, because the truth can sometimes be painful to those who hear it and those receive it. So let me just not get all political. Let me just share with you some things that we may know or we may not know about where we live. We live on an island, even though Brooklyn is part of this island, we live on an island called New York City, which was originally inhabited by Native Indians. And it was a tribe called the Lenape tribe. And they referred to this island as Mahata, right? And back in the 1600s, this company called the Dutchman, Dutch West Indies Company, they came and they had stolen our ancestors from Africa, and they would bring them to all parts of the world, right? And they landed on this island that was inhabited by the Indians, and they took it over. Let's be clear. They took over the island, and they changed the name of the island from Manhattan to Manhattan, right? But then the British got into a deal with these Dutch West Indies companies to start selling enslaved Africans, right? Now, those of us that know Manhattan, you know where Chambers Street is, from the West Side Highway all the way up into City Hall, Wall Street area. That's where our ancestors were bought and sold. They were bought and sold there. Now, can you imagine? We drive up and down Chambers Street right now. We see the buildings on the side, and we just don't realize that they were enslaved Africans in chains that were taken from the Hudson River, and they walked them up to where they were being sold back in the 1600s, right? They would grease them up so that they looked strong. They would check their teeth. They would check the anal system. They did all this. And that same area is now where City Hall, Wall Street. Now, the word Wall Street, right? Well, let me just back up a little bit. When the Dutch took over this area, they had to deal with the British, right? And they named, after they took it over from the Indians, they named it New Amsterdam, right? That's where New York City was originally called New Amsterdam. But because the British had to deal with the Dutch to bring enslaved Africans here to sell, as a favor to the British monarchy, the island was renamed New York after the Duke of York. That's where the name came from. Now, they also have a term called Wall Street. Back in the old days when, these enslaved Africans were brought here, there were also farmers who brought their cattle, their pigs, their horses, their sheep, their cows to be traded, right? And they were called stock. Our ancestors were also referred to as stock. So they started exchanging these different animals and our ancestors with each other, and it became so overwhelming, they created this organization called the New York Stock Exchange. Don't believe me, do your research, okay? We forget these things, right? Now, as far as that word Wall Street, right, the Dutch came here and they bogarted and took over the Indians' lands. And they brought in disease, and the Indians started getting sick, and they started getting pissed off. So they started attacking the Dutch. The Dutch built this wall. to protect them from being attacked by the Indians. And as time went by, they started fortifying that wall. And then when they broke the stock exchange, they referred to it as Wall Street. That's where the name Wall Street comes from. Now, if you go to the stock exchange inside that building, I was once invited along with our staff to ring the bell for the New York Stock Exchange. And inside they have an exhibit, and they referred to this wall, but inside they referred to it as a little picket fence instead of an actual wall. So you know, you got to be careful with the message they send out, right? So let me I don't want to get too far in the woods with you on this. I was blessed to have gone to this time 2 years ago. My wife and I, we were blessed to visit Ghana, right? I wanted to find out where we came from, how we got from that continent of Africa all the way to North America. And I want to thank God for my ancestors. Somebody in my family was enslaved and they made it across the waters. Somebody. And they procreated. And then we had my grandfather, great-grandparents. And also of those of us that are from different parts, from the islands and from Haiti, from Jamaica, from Dominican Republic, your ancestors were actually stolen from Africa. And they shipped them all over the world before there was a Jamaica, before there was a Haiti, before there was a Dominican Republic. Your ancestors were brought. And because of your skill, because you find that certain people were skilled in sugarcane. So they would take those slaves and put them and sell them in those areas. Some were good at planting certain things. So what happened was they were brought here to this island. And unfortunately, my ancestors were stolen. I don't know what their skills was, but that's one of the reasons why I'm here. Now, because of time, I don't want to go into the whole presentation I was going to do because I know you guys have other things to do, but I want to share this poem with you that kind of capulates us as a people. We come from different areas all over the world. Some people say I'm Jamaican, I'm Trinidadian, I'm Dominican, I'm Haitian, I'm this, I'm that, and the other, but we all come from Africa. I don't want us to ever lose that thought. You know, so what I want to do is read this poem to you because I want to shut it down. I know we went past time and I know how important it is on Zoom. You got only a certain amount of time, but I want to read this poem to you that was written by a lady that has since passed on. Her name was Juliet Domingo O'Connor, and her poem was called, "Have You Seen My People?" Now let that sink in. Because sometimes you say, well, you're African American, I'm Jamaican American, I'm this and that American, but we're all one people. So check this out. If you just in there, I'm going to read the poem. It's called "Have You Seen My People?" Here we go. They come to this new land in which I reside, and they don't seem to know me. They don't seem to remember that we all come from the same homeland. They tell me that they come from this island and that island, this country and that country. They do not see me as their kind, but they are my people. Have you seen my people? Trying to forget, not caring if we ever met, but they are my people. Have you seen my people looking the other way, not understanding my land as it is today? They may have a different accent, a different tongue, but they are my people. We mate and we have children. Now tell me, what do we call our children? A long time ago it was said we would not speak the same tongue and we would not know one another. That prophecy has been fulfilled. I have witnessed the outcome, the confusion, when our children do not know who they are in a land where all Blacks are equal. When you see my people, tell them, the seeds of our forefathers have been scattered through many lands. Tell my people it doesn't matter where we come from, we are the same race of people. When you see my people, tell them, I am they, and they are me, and we share the same blackness. Tell my people, I understand. I can see through the maze of false values that separate us from the spiritual forces of our forefathers. When you see my people, tell them, one day we will all understand and come into our common bond to love one another and share each other's knowledge. Tell my people, the spiritual forces of our forefathers is running through our veins, and I love them. One day they will see me and love me. We will unite and spread love, the vibration of the universe amongst all people. And that was written by Juliet Dominguez.
Wow.
And with that, we're going to have some words from the Evening Rush Network.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
Wow. Of course, we're sponsored by Big Apple Leadership Academy for the Arts. We're on Instagram, plugged MJ, Mahli and Joe. That was deep, man. That was very, 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 very deep, man. I'm kind of emotional. Like I said, Zach, like I said, Joe, like to live a life that he's lived, to have that kind of understanding of his mission and to have a hold of his mission in such a fashion is a beautiful thing to witness, What did you guys get out of Billy Mitchell? Zakaria, you go first. What did you get out of Billy Mitchell?
Oh, man. I mean, so I feel like what we just heard embodies what the counter to the problem is that, the systemic agenda has been enforcing on the entire public, and mostly the Black community. He's educated himself. He's found out where he's from, where his ancestors from. He found out the true history of where he lives. And that alone is, the fire behind what he's doing today.
Right.
And then that poem that he shared, man, I understand why he chose that. I feel like that kind of represents him and how he feels as well, and the mission that he's set out to do. That history about New York City, I heard some of it before, but the latter half, wow, it just blew my mind,
Yeah, that Wall Street, right?
Yeah, I didn't know about that. That is crazy, but it makes perfect sense. I can understand why they would want to continue that legacy today and keep it. That's how they do. They keep things under wraps.
They're very symbolic. They're
diabolical, I would call it.
It goes to show you that there was always a system put in place.
Absolutely.
Cows, chickens, cattle. It's just like every generation becomes something else. It became money. It was slaves. It was cattle. So there's always.
It was cotton. It was cotton. It was tobacco, sugar, oil.
One of them today is the entire sports industry in the United States. Like Colin Kaepernick referred to the NFL draft as the slave combine.
Listen, and it's not just the NFL, because the NBA. I mean, as politically conscious the NBA is, what is the difference? It's a kid sport that they pay top dollar for you to entertain a bunch of people and get they hooping and hollering about,
Yeah.
So let's Joe, any words about Billy Mitchell's video?
Well, I can listen to him talk all day, every day, because that man just has knowledge. Exfoliating from his pores, if you will, and I'm one that wants to be around all of it. So I take some of what Billy has said and I make it more, and I learn from it, and I grow from it, and I make it better. So I'm just grateful that Billy was able to share that information with us. It just makes us more knowledgeable.
Yeah, Joe, we're gonna have to send you a booth or something, man. We're gonna have to get that Harlem feeling back in your crib, man. I don't know what's going on. but you done change boroughs, and then you got a octave low. You got an octave low, bro.
No, we used to do back in the days with the booth in the closet, get a bunch of egg cartons and turn them on the backside and paste them against the wall.
Yeah, you might have to create your own little makeshift DJ booth or something. Yeah. All right. So topic of the day, Billy Mitchell spoke to it, is New York Undercover. Like, these are the things that he actually spoke to if you was listening in that little 10-minute situation. All right. Black history in the Big Apple. He is the epitome of what Black history in the Big Apple is. And when, God forbid, I mean, we all come and we all go. And like I always tell anybody else, it's everything that we do in the middle. It's all that the work that we do in the middle, because we all scheduled to check out of here. All right. So and what we've done in that time is history. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it's for the negative, whether it's for the positive, is your choice, right? So topic of the day, New York Undercover, Black history in the Big Apple. Joe, this is your forte, right? This is leading into something that we're going to talk about. Like, I think it's going to be a ongoing series where your company, what is your company's name again?
It's called JoJo's Ventures.
Yes.
It's a New York City-based tourism company which focuses on not just African American history, but the history of New York from borough to borough to borough to borough to borough.
And what we decided was that we're gonna try to take this all across the nation, right? See, because I like to travel, so we might as well go and check some of these other places out, right?
I mean, I'm on the side, so we can dig up a little history about the whole.
So that format would be called U.S. Undercover. How about that?
There we go.
Yes. There we go. Exactly. That'll work for me.
All right.
And it kind of goes with a theme, because U.S. is us.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right. Joe, is anyway? Oh, I hear you. Listen, that same octave right there. I need you to start us off. New York Undercover, Joe. Start us off. Kick us off. What are we talking about?
All right. So, in honor of Black History Month, I decided to put a couple of locations and little tidbits that people wouldn't know that acquired to Black African American history in New York City. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 3 different locations that existed from the 5 boroughs of New York City. The first one being called Sandy Ground. Sandy Ground was the first original community that was inhabited by African Americans in the 1600s in the neighborhood called Rossville, Staten Island, which is on the South Shore.
The first?
The first Black neighborhood in New York City was known as Sandy Ground.
Okay. Shout out to Sandy.
So it's the oldest surviving community in the United States, which was founded by free Africans prior to the American Civil War. So slavery ended in New York City about 1827. So from about 1827 to about 1860 something, it was the oldest community that was inhabited by free African slaves.
Wow. And
a lot of people don't understand that our history goes back before 1964. For us modern folk, we go back to the 1600s, and there's still a lot of documentation that exists in this country today that talks about it. We just have to go into the libraries, go to the historical societies, go to these places, and they're there for us, and most of them are free.
And you said the 1600s? That's what you said?
Yes, since the 1600s. Because remember, we came on this island in the late early 1700s. So most of these old neighborhoods have been there since, and they're still there. You just have to know where to go to acquire the history of it.
Is there a way that is there a location, like we can GPS it and we can go to Sandy Ground right now?
Well, there's a historical museum on the actual grounds that Sandy Ground existed in Staten Island now. So it's a historical museum that if you wanted to go to there now, and you would be able to find the information in Sandy Ground. So, and most of these museums are funded by the city of New York. So they may have a cover charge of it, but most of the locations. Just to give you a little bit of history of Sandy Ground,
Okay.
Within Rossville, it was the oldest surviving.
Hold on 1 second before you continue. Zakaria, you got any question about Sandy Ground? Because I find it fascinating. I don't know about you.
I find it fascinating too, but I'm gonna save something to the end of the show because it's just gonna open the door for a whole new segment.
So, copy that.
Okay.
Say no more.
Remind me.
Say less.
Of course, absolutely. But I'll just speak a little bit on Sandy Ground. It was the oldest surviving community in the United States, which was founded by free Africans prior to the American Civil War. Dating back to 1828, just months after the abolition of slavery in New York. Several of the community's historic structures are still standing, including 5 that have been designated as New York City landmarks, including a church, a cemetery, and 3 homes. Some of the residents also still live in the original community.
Wow. That's crazy. Shout out to Sandy Ground, man. Shout out to Sandy Ground.
So if you happen to come to New York and want to visit Staten Island, please make that on your list of visits to go see.
Listen, we're gonna check that out. Let's make that a point of emphasis this year, Joe. Like a lot of these places, when we say New York Undercover, let's actually put some video footage to checking it out. You know,
just throwing this out. I'll be coming to New York with the family before the year's up. So.
All right, you let us know. Yeah, let us know. Y'all more than welcome. Y'all listen. We here. All right. So next, what we got? What we got, Joe? What we got for the next?
It's Brooklyn in the house.
Without a doubt.
In the house.
Without a
doubt. So I'm going from Staten Island to the good old BK, and I'm going to talk about the neighborhood historically known as Weeksville. Now, Weeksville was I knew that would ring a bell. So Weeksville is an historic neighborhood founded by free African Americans in what is now known as Crown Heights in the 1860s.
/ Brownsville.
/ Crime Heights.
Yes, all of that. So Weeksville was named after James Weeks, an African American stevedore from Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
In 1838, he brought a plot of land from a gentleman named Henry C. Thompson, who was a free African and a land investor in the 9th Ward of Central Brooklyn. Thompson had acquired the land from Edward Copeland, a politically minded European American and Brooklyn grocer.
Mm-hmm.
Copeland brought the land from an heir of John Lefferts, who was a member of one of the most prominent and landholding families in Brooklyn. Just a segue from that, John Leffert also owned slaves.
Wow.
So as most of the people, there was a very interesting community development that was coming across last year called Slavers in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they went around to different streets in Brooklyn, and most of those streets are named after historic figures like Nostrand, Lefferts, Picton. All those names are named after historic families that owned property in Brooklyn in the early 1700s. And most of them owned slaves before slavery ended in New York. So a lot of people don't even know that. So wow. John Lefferts was one of the families. They say prominent in landholding, but they refused to talk about the slave owner part. But there was a lot of.
You know what's crazy about Weeksville? Not to cut you off, but I want you to pin that real quick. What's crazy about Weeksville is this the reason why me, myself, Zakaria, and probably Joe, and even Jada in the background, we all have like a closeness to Weeksville because it's right there. Like we've lived in the hood that Weeksville is there. Like where they say, okay, this is where we're going to represent Weeksville at, because I'm sure it spanned so many other blocks. You understand what I'm saying? But you know, they kept a few of those buildings, and you walk past slave buildings. Like you literally be in Brooklyn and you walk past a building that slaves, you know, people that used to be slaves came up here and decided to have a life. And, yo, it's crazy. It's so deep, man. Go ahead, Joe, man. You doing your thing, man. Listen.
Well, many African Americans saw land acquisition as their opportunity to gain economic and political freedom by building their own communities. And James Weeks was just one of those men who did that from 1776 to 1863. That's how long he lived on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
So it was established by a group of African American land inventors and political activists and covered an area of Brooklyn's eastern bound Bedford Hills area, which was known as Fulton Street, East New York Avenue, Ralph Avenue, and Troy Avenue. So those were the borders of Weeksville. And I know y'all taking your head because that's your hood.
I'm on Utica and Dean right now. So
you right something funny? I was on Park Place in Rochester. You want to hear something funny? The landlord to the building that I lived in was named Mr. Weeks.
Get out of here.
Hey, ask Paulie, brother.
All right. Say less. I believe you. Trust me, I believe you.
His son is still running the building today.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. So shout out to Weeksville, Brooklyn. Listen, shout out to Weeksville, Brooklyn. Is still standing right there to this day, strong.
Yes.
As a monument, as a reminder, and all of that. Trust me, it is there. You can walk past it right now.
There's also a nice heritage center there as well. So they usually have a lot of events and things like that too. So that would be a nice place.
Let's do that. Let's do that with Ball of Bronze, okay?
Sure.
All right. Listen, yo, I love this segment already, man. JoJo's adventure, man. We're gonna travel, man. We're gonna travel, man. Say less, man. Say less. We're gonna get out there for real. All right, so next up on the list, but the last but not least for New York Undercover this week. New York Undercover, Black History in the Big Apple. JoJo's adventure. This is like his coming out party. He letting us know how much history we just live amongst. Because like Weeksville is something like it's bugging me out because like I said, we lived that. Me and Zakaria lived Weeksville. Like we lived that, and I don't know, maybe it was something in the water over there, but we were doing it now. Go ahead, brother.
All right, so we are going to go to a place in Lower Manhattan, which Billy Mitchell did explain was the foundation of New York at one time. So we're going to talk about a place called Francis Tavern. Francis Tavern is a museum and a restaurant in New York City, which was situated at 54 Pearl Street, which is in the financial district of Lower Manhattan, which was also known as New York City during the time that it existed. Francis Tavern was a headquarters during the Revolutionary War for George Washington. It was a venue for peace negotiations with the British and housing federal officers in the early republic. One of the reason why there's an African-American connection to it is
I was waiting for it, man.
Everyone talking about George Washington.
Bro, I was sitting there like, where the hell is Joe going with this one here? Like, I don't know about this one, Joe. I don't know about this one, Joe. Look at it, brother.
The reason why there's an African-American connection to this tavern is because it was owned by a man named Samuel Francis. Samuel Francis was the owner. He was an American restaurateur and the owner and operator of Francis Tavern. During the Revolutionary War, he provided for prisoners held during the 7-year British occupation of New York City, and had claimed to have been a spy for a lot of the, for the American people. One of the things that Samuel Francis, a lot of people don't know, is that he was a black man. But he was light-skinned, and he passed as a light-skinned man. And you can imagine.
And in that time, that was actually kind of the norm for us to even get ahead.
Absolutely. For someone like Samuel Francis, he was light-skinned, so he could pass as black. And I'm pretty sure if they had figured out he was a black man, that would have been probably turn left really, really fast.
You mean he could pass as white?
Yes.
Right.
He was white.
Yeah. I could relate to that.
I hate you, bro. Yes. Yo, shout out to Francis Tavern, man. That is some deep stuff, man. And people don't understand that a lot of our brothers and sisters had to play the color card, whereas it wasn't the race card because they was looking. Listen, they knew they were black, but listen, if I could pass for white, I'm gonna do what I need to do. You heard what I said. My producer is bothering me, guys. Don't worry.
Hey, like Romare Bearden. Romare Bearden. Remember we talked about him? The black baseball player from the Negro League that was offered a contract in the MLB, and he had to pretend he was white because
Right.
He denied and didn't take it and became one of the most profound artists of our history.
Right. Did we speak on him? I thought we spoke on
Yeah,
him.
we did.
Yes, we did.
Right?
On the Colin Kaepernick Part 2 episode.
Yes.
Right. And you know what's crazy? And that's like, listen, we could get so much out of just paying homage. You understand what I'm saying about our history and getting enough information out there to our people. So people need to like I said, this is some serious stuff, and we're gonna do what we gotta get. We're gonna do what we gotta do. All right, listen. So we got time today for what we always like to do, which is current events. And the reason why we make sure that we had time today is because these topics are doozies. All right. And I believe that there's some things that we really need to highlight and look upon. All right. Remember we were talking about the brother Brian Flores last week, correct? We were talking about was last week?
Yes.
And he's suing the NFL. He's suing a few teams in the NFL because he feels like we're discriminated against, and you know all of the cliches of the Black Lives Matters movement. Okay, all the cliches, sayings, and all that other stuff. All right, systemic racism, blah 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 blah, systemic oppression, all of those things. Correct. All right. What we wanted to do this week is put up a little picture about the comparisons between black and white players and coaches in the NFL. And it's glaring. It's crazy how the difference is. All right. So right here, players. How many players do we have in the NFL that are white, and how many players do we have that are black? Zakaria, how many are white?
432, and compared to people of color is what it's called on the statistics. 1,220. So 1/4 of the players. I'm sorry, 1/3, right, of the players are white.
Okay, so how many are head coaches? I mean, you know, leaders of men. The ones that are the brains behind the operation are white.
It sounds better when you put it this way. Out of 29 head coaches, 26 are white. It impacts more that way. There's only 3 black coaches, head coaches.
And this is from when? This is from when? Where's this at? From 2012 to now?
Wow.
Yes, 2012 to 2021.
The past 9-10 years.
Wow. Okay. So now, all right. So we're talking about the players. How many players? Meaning we only have 432 white players, meaning those who are qualified to entertain the masses. And then we have people of color, okay, which could be, knowing them, they could put the Hispanics, they could put the blacks, and they could put any other color all together. But we know the majority of it is black. All right. But then you say who can lead them? 26 coaches, 3 people of color. All right. Who's calling the plays? All right. But hires between 2012 and 2021, Joe.
Okay.
Down here.
For head coaches, white counterparts, 51. People of color, 11.
How many general managers? That's the people that's hiring and firing.
Yes. A white, 31. People of color, 6.
Okay, let's go to offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. How now? Watch this, and and this is where I'm gonna have a point real quick. All right, offensive coordinators. Zakaria.
107 are white. 12 are quote unquote people of color.
Offensive, meaning we throwing the ball. It's where we get the money. It's the quarterback. It's the leader. Right? Offensive. You know, offense was right.
To score.
Defensive coordinators, Joe.
White counterparts 61, people of color 39.
Now, you know what's funny about the reason, and you know why I believe that they don't have a problem making us defend them. They've never had a problem with us defending them. Ever. Keep the stats up. They've never had a problem with us defending them. We've always been on the front line. Yes, we're only good to be the players, and we only have a mind to defend our white counterparts.
This goes back to that segment about working while black, right? And there's a ceiling that you can reach. You could get a job at the company, but there's a ceiling that you could reach in the hierarchy, that you're not going to be the head in charge, but you could get the job under the head, because you still have to be subject to the rules and told what to do, and you're going to be run.
We got a mathematician. We got a mathematician in the background. The numbers that they outnumber us in is astronomical in the sense, right? But now, who's the one putting on the show?
Right. We're out there on the field. Well, that's why the comparison to slavery is so fresh. I mean, when you look at, like you said earlier, the defensive players, the second in command, most of us were second in command, and we were defending the actions that were done by the white counterparts, correct?
Correct.
There's some type of system that's put into play there that kind of makes a little sense.
Yo, you see it, right? Like, it's glaring. Like, we got a lot of jobs defending them. Like, listen, we got about 39.
But this is just a parallel of the entire country. Look how many people in the government are white, as opposed to the people who they put to police communities, in the military, and which is still large, small numbers, according, for the black contribution there.
Because those are the people because remember, those are the general managers, the head coaches, and the offensive coordinators.
Exactly.
Offensive coordinators those are the police.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Listen, we're gonna put it on.
But how many are judges, right? How many are the politicians that pull the strings, that have some say so law changes?
So our mathematician says 74% of players are black, 10% of coaches are black, or people of color.
That's a very glaring. That's a very
you know that number's actually smaller according to how many of them are black, because they're adding Latinos in there.
Right.
Adding Asians now. So, like you said, people of color goes around the spectrum. Anybody but one.
I knew this topic would last a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we want to save the next topic for next week. What you want to do? I want
to just hit one of them real quick.
Hit the Adele one. Hit
the Adele one.
Hit the Adele button. Shout out to the ladies in the world, man. Shout out to the women. Yeah. Shout out to the women. Shout out to all females in the world. Can we hear that? I don't know. Can we hear it? What's going on? What we doing? I want to hear it. 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 Can we hear it? No? I want to read about it then. I don't know. But Adele was receiving an award over there.
I
do. Mute.
There we go.
Well, the name of this award has changed, but I really love being a woman and being a female artist. I do. I'm proud of us. I really, really am. Thank you so much.
We're proud of you too.
I absolutely I love Adele. Like I love Adele. Like listen, I really like her. Just sidebar, but I don't I didn't understand where she was getting slammed for telling a gender. Now watch. That was funny is they said a gender neutral award show audience. She loves being a woman.
That's not a gender neutral award show audience because of all the cheers she got. It was not a gender neutral audience. The person who posted that wanted it to be a gender neutral audience.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Sean. I'm sorry. I caught a moment, brother. But yeah. I just want to shout out Adele for standing up because she knew that was she understands what's going on. And you could tell by her even making that statement is like, listen, I don't have a problem being a woman. Like, y'all want to be who you are. I'm a woman. I want to stand by that. I want to stand on being who I am. The same way I should be able to stand on being a man and loving women. You understand what I'm saying? The way I do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do we have to be hiding from our true selves, right?
It's to the point where we can't even be proud to be what we were born as. And
Right.
now we conform to all these new terms, turf and the LGBT community determining what we can and can't say. And now if you want the respect, then you have to understand there's going to be people that have opinions against yours, and our opinions deserve to be respected as well. And I always say, if you want me to accept you for who you are, but you can't accept you for who you are, you ain't got nothing to say when I voice my opinion.
Right. I haven't.
So I just think that we're going in a place in society that's breeding marshmallowism, is what I like to call it. Everybody's soft and sensitive, and you can't say speak your mind anymore. You're not entitled to your opinion or freedom.
And unfortunately, because of the technical difficulties, I don't want to push it or anything like that and do too much. But yeah, we're going to wrap this up today with what we just spoke on with Adele. Shout out to all the women in the world that's proud to be a woman. And listen, don't let anybody, especially somebody who doesn't understand y'all struggle. You know what I mean? Every bit of your struggle, you understand what I'm saying, to dictate, your joy in being a woman. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, listen, all respect due to their choices, is that's what it is. It's a choice. You women did not have a choice. You women did not have a choice. You were born the way you were born, and you accepted what you were accepted with, and more power to you. I salute to you all. Peace.
Peace.